Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Oops, hang on. I need a little more light. That's fair. It's nice to see you chatting with each other. I'm sorry to hear about Nina being in the hospital. Please tell her I said hello and send her my hopes for a speedy recovery. Begin with the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gata of Atonement. All harmful karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. Fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. Since it's a guided meditation tonight, I'll get a little bit closer, make that a little easier to hear. So I'm going to do equanimity. And this is in response to a couple of things that people have emailed me about over the last few days and stuff like that. It seemed like this would be an appropriate meditation for this time. So that's why I've chosen this one. So if you're one of those people, I hope this is helpful. Go ahead and take a few deep breaths. Remember to make your abdominals nice and soft, your belly soft, so that your lungs can fill and empty smoothly, completely. Equanimity is the fourth of the Brahma Viharas. But to establish what our intention is all about, I like to begin with the first one, with metta. So we'll take a few moments to develop goodwill for ourselves and others. And begin with the thought, may I be happy. Saying that silently to yourself as you breathe out. May I be happy. And remember this as we go through this meditation. Looking for true happiness, the kind that comes from within, that's found in the present moment. It's not dependent on something external. It's not something you strive for. It's something to which you awaken. In this moment, from within. May I be free from animosity. And if ill will arises as we're doing this meditation, just let it go. May I be free from stress and affliction. Whatever comes into our awareness, let it go or let it be. No need to cling or push it away. No need to create stress. No need to nurture it until we have an affliction. May I look after myself with ease. Just watching how the mind moves, bringing it back to the object of meditation, back to this place of freedom, happiness. Calmly, with compassion for ourselves. May all beings be happy. And send that thought, may all beings be happy, to the 6 directions. North, south, east, west, above, below. May all beings be happy. So, what we experience in this life is a result of our karma. We're the owners of our karma. We don't really own our bodies or thoughts that arise, feelings, sensations. We don't have a lot of control over that. But we do own what we do. And so the first step in equanimity is to take ownership of our actions. I am the owner of my karma. Heir to my karma. So I'm here as a result of karma. And what I do, I'm going to inherit the results of that. Nobody else can experience your karma for you. We're born, brought into this moment as a result of things that happened before, as a result of causes, conditions. What I see is this self is made up of a lot of other things. It all came from somewhere. They came together because of actions. So I'm born of karma. But that said, my karma is related to the karma of others. So a lot of things had to happen before I could be here in this moment talking to you now. None of those things can be undone. None of those things can't go back and change them, control them. Owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of karma, related by karma. And I live supported by karma. My actions, primarily, and to some extent the actions of others that I'm in contact with, are closely related, and that's what supports us. Whatever I do, good or evil, I will inherit the results. And this is true for all beings. All beings are the owners of their karma and heirs to their karma, born of karma, related by karma. So you can't live someone else's karma for them either. They have to live their own. They have to experience the results of their actions. Because you're related, you can help. But ultimately, whatever we do, good or evil, we inherit the results. And that's true for our friends, our families, our acquaintances, people we don't get along with. Because they're born of karma, because they arose into this moment as a result of a lot of other actions. They can't be someone different than they are. And because our karma made us human, we and they will be flawed, will make mistakes, do the wrong thing. And sometimes the right thing, and sometimes brilliant things. It's all a result of what we've done before. All beings are the owners of their karma, heirs to their karma. Born of karma and related by karma. All beings live supported by karma. Whatever they do, good or evil, they'll inherit the results. So, where does the equanimity come in? It comes from accepting this, being aware of this, understanding this reality. Everything that arises out of cause and will ultimately fall out of cause. All compounded things change. And for all intents and purposes, everything that we deal with is a compounded thing. So, accept that. Appreciate what's pleasant. Accept what passes. Even the feelings that come and go as a response. Feelings are not self. They're not mine to control. What is mine is the actions that I do in response. So whatever happens, I can be balanced and at peace. That's what equanimity means, being balanced. Not being pushed one way or the other by circumstances. Coming back to level as things change. Like a boat riding waves. So maybe there's somebody that you know who's suffering and you want to be compassionate for them. You can temper that with equanimity. Recognize that they have to live their lives. Doesn't mean you're cold toward them. Just puts things into perspective. Maybe there's somebody you're not getting along with. Accept that they are who they are. It's pointless to expect them to be something different. They can't change who they are. With some help and some guidance, they might be able to change to influence who they are next time, tomorrow, next year. But right now, they're exactly what they should be, based on what has brought them to this point. So everything changes. Whole worlds come and go. Kings and democracies. Entire universes, nothing is permanent. But we have this moment, and we have access to that which is undying. The deathless. So we can use this body, this impermanence, this realization of the emptiness of all phenomena as a way to experience the deathless. For now, just take a moment to be balanced and at peace. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, the 16 guardians and all protectors of their Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance, so that all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions. At this time, we have members of our congregation, friends and loved ones, suffering from illnesses and accidents. We pray for them and send loving thoughts their way. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukajivino katang punya phalang maihang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. We'll move just a bit closer. I really do need to get a chair that rolls. So I mentioned that I've gotten a couple of emails and messages on social media and stuff about specific things. And by the way, before I forget, a really good way to ask questions is to go to the anchor.fm profile page for the Adventures of Sariputta and Moggallana. And there's a thing where you can ask a question, a recorded question, and then I can play it back at the podcast and answer it, which I think it's really interesting. I like doing that. So don't forget you can do that. And it makes it, I don't know, to me, it feels a little bit more like a dialogue than
Not that I mind writing an answer to something, but it seems a little more personal. So anyway, so it's kind of interesting that both the kind of two of the sort of main questions that I got kind of relate to what I was going to talk about tonight, which is there's this thing called the 108 gates to what the Dharma illuminates. Basically, the Dharma gates. So every service, we say this thing about Dharma gates. We say, I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. So that's what it's talking about. The gates through which you go, or through which the Dharma is illuminated. So this, I came across, been reading a bunch of Dogen stuff, and I came across this thing a while back and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. I knew I wanted to do something with it here. And so I finally just decided today I'd start talking about it. So Gamyo Bodhisattva, which would be a Japanese name, Gamyo, and I'm not sure what the equivalent would be in Sanskrit, but the name means the one who is a guardian of wisdom's light. Is in the heavens, the Tusita heaven, the really nice heaven, waiting to be reborn into his last existence as a human being when he becomes the Sakyamuni Buddha. And so there's a celestial palace. Oh, so by the way, this is a translation of Dogen's translation of basically what amounts to a long excerpt from a Chinese document called the Scriptural Collection of the Past Deeds of the Buddha, Butsu Hongyo Jikyo. So Dogen had read this, liked it, resonated with it. So he translated it. And so it's been translated into English, and I'm going to talk to you about it. So anyway, there's a celestial palace in this heaven, and it's huge. And from time to time, the Bodhisattva goes up into this palace to give a Dharma talk, basically. And for the celestial beings that live in the Tusita heaven. And on this particular occasion, he had gone to this palace and had sat in meditation for a while. And then he calls the celestial beings there, says, "Gather around me. I wish to explain in their entirety the gates to what the Dharma illumines. For they are known as the gates, which are the skillful means for comprehending the forms that all thoughts and things take. I leave these teachings as my final instructions for you, that you may remember me by them. If you listen to what these states of the Dharma they will surely produce great joy and delight within you." So one thing that's real clear about this early on, and that I want to point out, is that the Buddha, to be, the Bodhisattva, that's what that means, Buddha to be, is getting ready to be reborn, and he calls all these devas around him, and he says, "This is going to give you joy and delight. So don't forget, your practice is to be a source of happiness for you. And not just happiness in some other life or some other existence, or when you transcend existence, because that's the ultimate thing, is to be reborn in the Pure Land and hang out there until we can all achieve nirvana together. That's the Mahayana goal. But to be a source of joy and delight to you. So that doesn't mean that life is going to always be easy, but that if you do practice, you will have more happiness than you would otherwise. So listen to what these gates of the Dharma are. They will surely produce great joy and delight in you." And so all these heavenly beings come and sit down, including, says, beautiful celestial women and their entourages, and heard what the Buddha said, and they came up and gathered around him. And seeing that this multitude had gathered in the celestial palace, he starts to expound the Dharma. And in order to do this, he basically produces out of the strength of his mind another palace, a celestial palace, on top of the big place where he already was, huge and spacious and encrusted with jewels. And among all the celestial palaces within the world of desire, there was none to compare with it. When the celestial beings saw this extraordinary palace, they felt as if their own palaces were nothing but mounds of dirt. So the point of this is that the Dharma he's going to expound is truly beautiful, and not just kind of profound, but that it truly contains everything that is beautiful in the universe. That's how we're going to get there. This is how. So, did this really happen? Did the Buddha to be actually sit in heaven and call all the celestial beings together and then create this palace on top of the other palace and all of that? Who knows? Who cares? This is a poetic way of accessing where the Dharma can take you. It works like poetry or great literature. It takes you someplace where the mind can't normally go. And so countless light rays of various types shone forth from this great palace, which is hung with thousands of banners of brilliant hues. And from that palace hung all sorts of tassels and beautiful celestial beings, each carrying various varieties of jewels, came and sang the praises of the Bodhisattva and songs that told about his past merits. And the guardian lords of the earth were there by the billions, standing to his left and right, protecting the palace. And the guardian lord Indra's by the millions. So this is like one of the what we could call a Hindu deity, by the millions made prostrations before the palace. And all of the celestial Brahmas, were making offerings, and millions upon millions upon millions of bodhisattvas came to the palace. And the Buddhas of the 10 quarters were there, and untold millions keeping watch over it, and practice and training previously done over countless eons, as well as acts of freeing others from their suffering, were achieving their spiritual reward. So, and good causes and their accompanying conditions were being fulfilled and promoted day and night, so that immeasurable merit was making everything everywhere magnificent. So, to have a Buddha come into the world and teach people how to transcend the misery of day-to-day existence is a really, really special thing. And that's why these stories are told this way. In the meditation earlier, I said, you're born of karma. Some of that karma is good karma, right? Good karma made you a human being. If you didn't have some good karma, you'd be, an animal or a hell being or something like that. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the 108 Dharma gates. The kind of action that creates an awakened one who can awaken others, and this is, the Buddha. If you do the recollection of the Buddha as the guardian meditations, the Buddha is unfailingly pure. So this is someone whose mind is completely clear of any imperfections, unfailingly pure, awakens, is rightly awakened and awakens others. So he's the awakening one. So not just he's awake and good for him, but what he's done is so perfect that he's also made it possible for millions and millions of other people to awaken to. So even if you don't think of yourself as someone who's going to become a celestial Buddha in a palace, think about, since you started practicing, the misery you've managed to set aside. I mean, I don't know who all's here. I don't know everything about your life stories and all of that. I know mine, and I know how much suffering I was able to leave aside as a result of my practice. If I could see all of the good karma that had to be in place in order for that to be available to me, and in order for me to be able to put it into practice and realize the results, it might look like a beautiful jewel-encrusted celestial palace with rays of light and silk banners and millions of bodhisattvas all hanging around to protect it, wouldn't it? Think about if you got to experience all the goodness that results from all of your good actions, if you could see it tangibly in front of you all at once, what would that look like? Think about the results of a simple kindness that you do for someone. A friend of mine, a guy I've known for a long time, had posted something. I don't think he's a Buddhist. He studied Tai Chi with me for a while, and we've stayed friends. And he posted something about how he keeps having this dream that he wins the lottery, and then he gives all of his friends $1 million. And then he wakes up and he's sad because it was only a dream. And I said, just give them kindness. It might be worth more than $1 million to somebody, your act of kindness. And that's true. When you think about what the potential repercussions are of you being nice to somebody, if you could really see all of that, it might look like jewel-encrusted palaces. Anyway, I have way digressed from where I wanted to go with this conversation, but that's okay. So then he's got them all around there. And so he starts talking. He says, these are the 108 gates by which you can see the Dharma illuminated. So this is how you can experience that thing that I was just talking about, is through these 108 gates. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter that's one of the 8 vows, or the 4 great vows. And what that means is really to see the Dharma, we only have to go through one gate, but these are 108 different ways that we can access that. So I'll go through some of them in coming weeks. But I want to talk about a group of 4 particularly because it pertains to something that I was asked about. And it has to do with the 4 seals of the Dharma, the 4 key teachings of the Buddha. Reflecting on impermanence is a gate to what the Dharma illumines, for thereby we perceive the cravings of those in the 3 temporal worlds of past, present, and future. Reflecting on suffering is a gate to what the Dharma illumines, for thereby we give up all cravings. Excuse me. Reflecting on there being no unchanging permanent self is a gate to what the Dharma illumines, for thereby we refrain from fettering ourselves by thinking that such a false self is what we truly are. Reflecting on the tranquil calm of nirvana is a gate to what the Dharma illumines, for thereby we do not disrupt the intention we hold in our heart. I think that's put so beautifully. So what you usually hear is, okay, the 4 seals are dukkha, suffering, suffering. Impermanence, everything changes. Not self, I don't have a real self. Nirvana, If you're able to really accept those other three things, you can get to this place where you transcend all of those things. So, that's putting it very prosaically, but I like the way he puts it here. Reflecting on impermanence, through that we perceive the cravings of those in the three temporal worlds of past, present, and future. So, in other words, when we truly accept and embody the fact that everything's going to change, then we recognize the futility of craving that which is going to change. It's really that simple. And when we recognize the futility of craving it, then we can work with it more skillfully. We can, the orchid back there is a perfect metaphor for that sort of thing. I think it's beautiful. I know it's going to lose all its blossoms. Hopefully it'll come back again next year. I didn't manage to kill all 4 of the ones that I got last year. That one's one of those. So that's the cycle. It comes back and it's pretty again. I got 3 more outside that are in various stages of returning to blossom. So that's just kind of the cycle of coming and going and the way it happens. So appreciate what you've got, but don't get hung up on the craving for what you really can't have over the long term. Reflecting on suffering is a gate to what the Dharma illumines, for thereby we give up all cravings. So look, this is kind of the way the brain is wired. Everything changes. Not only do the things themselves change, but our feelings toward the things change. Something can give us a whole lot of pleasure today, and a year from now, the same thing be kind of boring, maybe even irritating. Think about, you have this perfect job that you want, and you work so hard to get it, and you get it. It's everything you imagined it would be. And a year or 2 from now, you're like, oh God, this is terrible. I can't stand to get up and go to work again. Or the car that you love. I have a crush on a particular vehicle right now, Suppose I got it. It was everything I imagined it was going to be. And then, it gets a parking lot ding, and then it gets dirty and it breaks down again, or sometime. And I get it fixed and it breaks down more often and all those things. And pretty soon I'm like, man, I really need a nicer car. Right? We do that with our relationships. We do that with our houses. Everything that gives us pleasure because of wanting it, ultimately our wanting changes. So that doesn't mean don't want anything. It just means want more skillfully. Recognize the reality of it. Take care of what you've got. Be contented and recognize that craving something bright and shiny is really probably not going to be better for you than having what you've got right now. Reflecting on there being no unchanging permanent self is a gate. By doing that, we refrain from fettering ourselves by thinking that such a false self is what we truly are. I could and have talked for hours about what, the role fettering ourselves, connecting ourselves to the idea of what we are, the source of trouble that is for us. And so, recognizing that we change too, that to identify as something particular is also going to let us down. So we don't need to do it. We just need to live and live happily and live well. Reflecting on the tranquil realm of nirvana. Realizing that when you leave behind all of those sources of cravings and fetters and all of that kind of stuff, what's left is really peaceful. The tranquil realm of nirvana. Reflecting on that is a gate to what the Dharma illuminates, for thereby we do not disrupt the intention we hold in our heart. At our heart, the intention to be a Buddha, to awaken, our Buddha nature. Okay, so that's where we're going from. So how does that work in the real world? If you just had a relationship change or a job change or any number of changes, of course that's not going to feel good. One of my favorite poems. It's one of my favorites because it's painful, but it reminds me of the way reality is. It's written by a Japanese poet who had lost family members. I won't go into a bunch of detail. And after the last one, he wrote this poem that said, "This dewdrop world is a dewdrop world, and yet. So this world is just a drop of dew. And like a drop of dew, it's ephemeral. It has no real substance. It doesn't last. And yet, of course he was sad. He lost a loved one. Even though you recognize impermanence and so on, sadness is going to arise in a situation like that. But that is also just a drop of dew that will also pass. Recognizing people people have to live their lives. They have to live out their karma. The recognizing that if you're a human being, there's going to be stress. And all of those things are impermanent and change too. So the stress you feel today, you're going to feel less tomorrow and even less the day after that. And pretty soon, sooner or later, you're going to find moments of joy. In fact, one of the maxims that Greg Creech presented us with in Vermont during the intensive on Japanese psychology was to examine life outside the boundaries of your suffering. In other words, okay, I'm suffering, and that fits in here. Those things are happening, and that's stressful and unpleasant. What else is going on? And then you can pay attention to the fact that, wow, it was a beautiful day today. There was this nice breeze all day. And I have a loving and caring spiritual community that I can turn to. And, there's all these other things going on that are good. Now, that is not to make you have this sort of Pollyanna, everything is okay state of mind. Equanimity doesn't mean that everything is okay. Equanimity means that I can be okay, regardless of circumstances. Even if that means that sometimes I get sad, even if it means sometimes I get angry, sometimes I get worried, all of that, because those are all symptoms of good things, really. You can't have joy if you can't have sadness. You can't have the feeling of accomplishment, for example, if you can't have a little concern about how well you're going to do. Those are always two sides to the same sheet of paper. You can't have a one-sided sheet of paper. And so you have both. Does that mean it's going to be easy? Knowing that, can I just walk around and be okay with everything? Hell no. I hope not. I hope you suffer a little bit. Because this is where your practice comes in. Everything is an opportunity to wake up. Even the bad stuff. Now, one of the other questions that I got that's an interesting one is, how do you know when you become a Buddhist? Well, if you are starting to see that at work in your life, and you recognize that you're starting to react to things a little bit differently, and you're reacting to things a little bit differently in a way where you're able to start leaving some of your stress and suffering aside, stop creating as much of your own, then you're probably a Buddhist. I keep thinking about that. I think it was Jeff Foxworthy, one of these kind of cornpone comic kind of guys, that's sort of his shtick. I'm not saying that to disparage him. I think his whole deal is he's a redneck. You might be a redneck you might be a Buddhist if you recognize that all of the clinging that you do to the self, despite all of the clinging that you do to it, it's really pretty ephemeral. And when you start having those moments that you go, yeah, I really don't need to hang on to that. And you see that, hey, this is getting me somewhere. Or when you start to see, hey, hanging on to this stuff that's going to change and thinking that that's a source of some permanent happiness, not going to work. And so you start looking for what really does work, what really is over the long term going to benefit me. Then I think that's the point where you can say, yeah, I'm a Buddhist. That doesn't mean that you're doing it all perfectly. It doesn't mean that you're happy all the time. I'll keep talking. You keep typing. Then, but having unpleasant feelings, having unpleasant sort of situations arise, and then dealing with them in ways that are liberating you. Then at that point, I think you can say, yeah, this practice is good. That's okay. Don't worry about it. I can't type worth a damn when I'm trying to listen to a live stream either. Take your time. I'll be here. Now, if you decide that you want to officially become a Buddhist, you go for refuge, and you can email me or message me or whatever and say, how do we do that? It's a very nice, fairly short. So what are we working toward? That's a real good question. We're working toward less stress and suffering than we would otherwise have experienced, basically. Ultimately, we're working toward becoming Buddhas ourselves in order that we can liberate others. That's the ultimate goal, of Mahayana Buddhism anyway. If you're a Theravada Buddhist, it's a little different. And that's the end goal. You become a Buddha. Or you become an Arahant, if you prefer, if you're going that direction, which means you completely purify your mind of all connections, all fetters, everything that ties you to coming and going. Yeah. So probably not this lifetime, maybe. I don't know you well enough to know, but depends. The Buddha in this sutra that I was talking about, is talking about many, many lifetimes and all of the karma that he's created. Yeah. But only humans can do it, right? Animals can't do it because they don't have enough, they don't have enough free will. Celestial beings can't do it because they don't suffer enough. That's the beauty of being human, is that you can understand and practice the Dharma, and you see the benefit of it, because spiritual practice never arises out of a place of supreme bliss. It always arises out of a place of, this sucks, right? So what can I do about it? So, and that's pretty unique to human beings. So, yeah. So the downside of being a human is that, you got those moments that are not very pleasant. The upside is you can recognize that awakening is possible. And as you start working toward it, you start transcending, you get the low-hanging fruit. You start experiencing a little bit less of the day-to-day stress. You develop a little bit more patience. You become contented in ways that maybe were challenging for you before, that kind of thing. I mean, I used to be what they used to call a real type A personality. I don't know if they still use that term. I don't think so. But basically pressured all the time. No matter where I was, couldn't wait to get through that so I could go to the next thing so that I could be impatient about being there, that kind of thing. And I'm pretty happy being where I am now. And I can't say I'm 100% happy all the time by any means, and certainly, when, I experience losses, I don't like it, and so on. But, what we're trying to do is get to the point where we have spiritual resilience. We're able to transcend our suffering in ways where we can return ourselves to balance, and then go about doing things that are productive and that are purpose driven rather than just being reactive. And purpose, you gotta pick that for yourself. If you're a Mahayana Buddhist like I am, well, ultimately the purpose is I want to wake up, and I want to wake up so that I can help you wake up. But you may have a different purpose, and that's okay. So anyway, it's good questions. It's 8:00, so we really should wrap. But thank you all very much for being here. And be on Zoom Thursday. Will not be at White Sands this Sunday. I'm actually returning to Palatka Sunday morning. See how that goes. Giving a Dharma talk at Ravine State Gardens, which should be pleasant, provided it's not pouring down rain or something while we're there. But forecast is good, so looking forward to that. So I will see you tomorrow night if you're there, and otherwise next week. So thank you very much for being here, for your time and attention. About meeting in DeLand again, we need to have a conversation about that. I don't know. We'll talk about that. I have no plans at this point with that regard, but that don't mean it won't happen. All right. So anyway. All right. Take care. Have a good night. I'll see you soon.